Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Spurs Chat podcast, where in this edition we will be previewing the Champions League clash AC Milan v Tottenham Hotspur, of course, at the San Siro on Tuesday evening. I've got three very, very special guests to talk about this Champions League encounter. We've got Simone back with us. Simone, of course, is a journalist and pundit with Sport Italia, lives in Milan. Simone, how are you?
I'm fine and ready for the game.
Lovely to have you here. We've also got Melvin, of course, channel regular. Melvin, all the way from Malta. Melvin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Just, packing for tomorrow's flight to Milan. And, hopefully I'll see you there, Chris.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And all the way from Essex, we've got Craig with us. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right. Not as glamorous as Milan or Malta, but, Essex, lovely place. I'm all right. Thanks, Chris.
Now, just before we get on to preview the Milan game on Tuesday evening in the Champions League, Simone, let's start with you. Just give me your brief thoughts on yesterday's performance at the King Power Stadium.
Awful, disgraceful. 2 words. Very, very bad defeat, guys. Because Fulham and Man City seem to be a turning point for the season for Spurs. Instead, they struggled once again. They were 1-0 up. And they struggle in the second half. Concede a lot of goals. A system that for me, 3-4-3, with the back 3 that become back 5, is not working. But I know Antonio for a very long time, and he is absolutely unable to switch his system, to change his system. Because he was asking for nastiness, he was asking for this kind of concept to be more solid in terms of defensive side. But he is still conceding. He is back. He was back from the surgery, but the situation was just like when he left. So just like 2 weeks ago, before Fulham, before Man City.
Simone, how can you describe beating Manchester City, the champions, 1 week, and then going to Leicester the very next week and being tore apart by the Foxes?
Spurs, one word. Absolutely Spurs. Incredible to see. Of course, we are talking about a very good team because they won 1 week ago at Villa Park for 2. Tete is a very, very good player. Maddison is a player that I'd love to see wearing the white shirts with Tottenham. But of course, when you beat Man City, but you bet Man City because Antonio knew how to defend. Cristian Stellini organized a very, very good plan. Give Man City the ball, they attack, and you go for the counter-attacks. When you need to play the game, when you need to play the ball, you can suffer. And of course, this team, there is a very bad news that not just Sessegnon out for 6 weeks. I'm clearly hinting to talking about someone that you remember very well that I didn't like when he joined Spurs because Bentancur in Juventus really struggled. Then it turned out to be an incredible player. For me, that's the second best player for Spurs this season, after Ali, after Kane. Bentancur is the only midfielder for Antonio that knows how to play the ball, how to play the game, how to direct. He's the only one that is a pure playmaker, is a proper playmaker. Without Bentancur, for the rest of the season, very, very bad news. I don't think it's going to be easy to cope with his absence in the next couple of months.
Simone, is Antonio Conte still the right man for Spurs, in your opinion?
I think that he needs to understand how to change the system. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future because he's the same that he's asking for time and patience, but he's the same that he's refusing to sign a new contract. So what's the point? Absolutely useless to be asking for time and patience in every single press conference, and then you don't extend your contract with Tottenham. Of course, there are also reasons, private reasons, because his wife and his daughter are still in Turin, so they are currently living in Italy. So I'm expecting him to be out of Tottenham in June, but we never know what's gonna happen.
Melvin, let's come to you. I know we're here to talk about the AC Milan game on Tuesday, but just give me your thoughts very quickly on the game at Leicester yesterday.
Yeah, it's strange because it's something that happens a lot in the last 2 years. You know, we miss one or two players from our starting 11, from our best 11, and we struggle. You know, we missed Romero a lot. In a strange way, we really missed Emerson because he's very solid defensively. You know, puts in a really good shift, and Pedro Porro was quite new to the Premier League and got taught quite, you know, a lesson. You know, he's a very talented boy, but in the Premier League, you can't afford those mistakes. And sadly, we started well. We scored early because, you know, Bentancur and Højbjerg are very good players, and Kane. And in the first 10 minutes, I thought, okay, we're going to really open them up. It just seemed the game turned quite quickly, and we lost our game plan, our concentration. And in the Premier League, the game is such fine margins that, you know, these little details can turn such a game like that. And yeah, it's disappointing. And obviously, I was so gutted when we got the injury to Bentancur, because he's been such a great player for us. And honestly, I think apart from Harry Kane, he's probably one of the most important players this season. You know, he picked up 5 goals, so something that's we've been asking for a long time. You know, these players to chip in with the goals. It's not just Son and Kane, and even Sonny as well was absent yesterday. A lot of players that either they had one part of on their mind, they had the AC Milan game. Maybe they were thinking about Tuesday while they were playing Leicester, which is something that, you know, they shouldn't really do. But I think a little bit they had their eye on Tuesday, and they didn't want to play at 110%. And when you don't play at 100% in the Premier League, you just get punished. And Leicester are a good side. Even though they've dropped recently, they still have experienced Premier League players like, you know, Maddison and all those guys, and they punish you, and even Harvey Barnes. And that's what happened. We just got punished.
Craig, I can't believe I'm asking you this, but Emerson Royale probably should have started yesterday, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you well know, and anybody that listens to this channel regularly, I've obviously, along with a lot of people, have been critical of Royale in the past, but against City, he was absolutely immense. And I was surprised that he didn't actually stay in the team yesterday. But probably Conte's plan is he starts Porro, gives him his Premiership debut, and then sticks Emerson in against AC Milan, which will probably happen anyway. But I don't think we all realised or thought that Porro would have such a poor first display for Tottenham. And you know, you can't, anybody who's writing him off now is a ridiculous thing to do. You know, obviously it's a new league, new team. You know, he just had a bad one, but then again, the whole team had a bad one. And to be honest, you know, whatever way Conte had gone with that, if he'd stuck Emerson in, funny enough, I think if he'd stuck Emerson in, people wouldn't have been too bothered because he had such a good game against City. But yes, I am praising Royale because credit where credit's due. He was immense, absolute man of the match display. It was superb. But as we all know, against Leicester, for me, it had shades of the Burnley last year when we went to City, beat them, and then after the Lord Mayor show, come crashing down back to reality against Burnley. And it seems to have gone from the highs last weekend, all of a sudden, injuries galore. You know, our captain's out now, Sessegnon's out again, Højbjerg's suspended for Tuesday. And Bentancur, of course, what a miss he's going to be. And coming from somebody who's done 2 cruciate ligaments myself, if that is an ACL, and to me, when he did it, as soon as he did it, I thought that doesn't look good because I know what that pain's like. It's a pain like you would not believe. And people saying he could walk, like Stellini said, you can walk after it. After that initial pain kind of wears off, you can walk on it. But he knew he'd done something bad as soon as he went down. And it's those funny little challenges that when your cruciate goes, it's not good. So he's going to be a massive loss to us over the next few months. And if it is his ACL, which is being reported, then I'd be surprised, to be honest, if you see him before September anyway. 6-7 months. That's the technology's moved on a bit, surgical techniques have moved on a bit, but it's still a massive operation and a huge injury. I mean, when Shearer did it back in the night, that was over a year. Gascoigne did it, that was over a year. So they've speeded it up a bit with physio techniques, but even at top clubs, if you're back in 6 months, you've done really well. But so we've got a plan for the rest of the season without him. And it looks, unless he moves Dyer into the centre midfield, that it's going to be Skip and Sarr in the middle. But we'll see where that goes. And it's not been a good week for Spurs, has it?
Let's just go through the injuries, because anyone just joining us and don't know about the Bentancur news, cruciate ligament, reports are stating that he will be out between 6 and 8 months. Fabrizio Romano has said he will miss the rest of this season. He's going to need at least 6 to 7 months to recover. As Craig rightly said, Højbjerg is suspended for the trip to the San Siro against AC Milan. Basuma has just had surgery. He had surgery on Friday. We don't know the length of time he's going to be out, but it will be quite lengthy. Sessegnon, we got the news yesterday. Sessegnon is now out for 6 weeks, hamstring injury. And, of course, club captain Hugo Lloris out of a knee injury for 6 to 8 weeks. We have 9 players out on loan. We've just offloaded Doherty, of course, who played on the left-hand side. So it now looks like Perisic is going to have to play a large amount of these games. And as you rightly said as well, Craig, Skip and Sarr, it now looks like that is going to be the midfield duo at the San Siro. Simone, let's come to you on this injury news, because, of course, what a week for Spurs. We were all on such a high, as Craig also rightly said, all on such a high last weekend. We've had all of these injuries. Of course, we lost at Leicester yesterday. What do you make of the news about Rodrigo Bentancur? Because this is a huge loss for us.
It's a huge loss. I would love Rodrigo to anticipate at least 1 month. Maybe I was listening with great attention what Craig was saying. I'd love him to anticipate his return, maybe in August, in order to be able to do some pre-season with the rest of the group next season, even if we don't know who will be Tottenham manager next season at this stage. So we'll see. A huge loss. He's the only one that can play the ball. He's the only one in 3-4-3, the system that Antonio wanna go on to do. He's the only one that can play the ball. So I'm expecting something more from Bissouma. Bissouma as well had a surgery some days ago. The same situation about Ryan Sessegnon. For me, it was a mistake, guys, to be honest, to get rid in that way of Matt Doherty. Because we already knew that Ryan Sessegnon used to suffer about injuries. He's very lucky. That guy is very lucky. Next season, we'll have Destiny Doji. I think Ryan Sessegnon is wasting a huge opportunity, because he's the only, in his way, he found a manager that clearly play the system that suits his characteristics in the best way. Because Sessegnon is not a left winger, he's not a left back. For me, Sess is a proper left wing back. So I'm also very, very sad about that situation. So we'll see what happens.
Melvin, how on earth are we going to carry on this season, end the season, without Rodrigo Bentancur in the centre?
This game, obviously, we don't have Højbjerg, who's a very good midfielder, but Bentancur is he's just so good. He's really good. He reminds me a lot of Berbatov with the way he moves with the ball, and he's been chipping with the goals. And last season he came in and saved us. And this season we're gonna have to carry on without him. Obviously we have Oliver Skip and Papa Sarr who now have to step up and try to fill his shoes. Obviously it's a big ask, and I don't know if they can handle that pressure. Obviously Papa Sarr was at the World Cup. He was included with his national team, so he's not the most experienced player, but he's highly rated for a youngster. And he was chucked in in the North London derby, and he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. He hopefully can do something for us and can fill and can do a job. Obviously he has to be paired with now Oliver Skip, who who last season wasn't so bad, and the season before played for Norwich and had a really, really good season. You know, he's been another player who's been plagued with injuries and couldn't really get 4, 5, 6 games in a row this season, and has been struggling. Hopefully, it's a big ask again to shock these guys in a Champions League knockout and ask them to perform, especially against, you know, AC Milan, who are the champions of Italy, even though they're not in the best form right now, but they still have, you know, right now it's polar opposites. We have new injuries, and it just seems that their injuries are, all their players are coming back in a crucial moment. You know, they have 3, 4 players who were injured last week who will be back. So it's difficult to, I don't know, it's difficult to really see how these players are gonna perform at the San Siro.
Well, we are unbeaten against AC Milan in our history. We have played them 4 times in European competition, twice in 1972 in the UEFA Cup, where we beat them 2-1 and we drew 1-1. Twice in 2011 in the Champions League, where, of course, we beat them 1-0 at the San Siro, Peter Crouch scoring in the round of 16, first leg, and then a 0-0 draw at White Hart Lane. So that's played 4, 1-2, drawn 2. Craig, how are you feeling going into this game?
A bit less confident than I was after the Man City game, if I'm honest. You know, we knew Højbjerg was going to be out, but you assumed Bentancur was going to be there. And as we said, Simone said, you know, he's a massive loss for us, but we got to get on with it. That's why you got a squad, right? And Sarr has been good. I mean, it's a big game for him to come into, and same with Skip if that's what the formation he goes with. But we just got to get on with it. You know, you've got to trust these players, and let's be honest, the players that were on the pitch Saturday didn't rip up any trees, did they? So you know, you've just got to trust them to do a job. What frustrates me a bit, and it is a bit of a criticism of Conte for me, is his unwillingness to change, and even change mid-game, and the change he does make is just too late. Pochettino used to wind me up a little bit, and I love Poch, but he seemed to make changes a bit late, and we never had a plan B. You know, it was, whereas Mourinho, I was never a big Mourinho fan, but at least he would see things going wrong in the game, rightly or wrongly, but change them, even change them before half time sometimes. I remember him pulling Dyer off before, you know, after about half an hour when things weren't going right. So, but for Conte, I mean, Simone know better than I, but it's just a bit frustrating that sometimes he seems like he doesn't not know what he's doing. That's far too harsh for a world-class manager like Conte to say that. But you know what I'm getting at? It just seems devoid of being able to change anything, certainly mid-game, to when things are going not right for us. I mean, it's happened all too many times this season. And for me, sometimes I think these world-class managers need, this is going to sound crazy, but need the world-class players to make them win. You know, like your Peps, your Contes, your Mourinhos, It's already, well, like, I'm not saying me or you could go in, or any one of us could go in with a world-class squad like Man City. Would we be able to win something? Probably. I'm not being funny, but there's a difference for me between a world-class coach and a world-class manager, you know? And he's not working with the same caliber of players he had at other clubs. So at what point is that going to be, you know, like Pochettino was obviously a world-class coach, in my opinion, because he got so much out of the players we had and nearly won us the league. We didn't win, but we were that close, weren't we? So does Conte have to have world-class players to win things? He probably does. I mean, Simone, what do you think? Is that probably fair that Conte needs that? Is he one of those managers, would you say?
Great point. I absolutely agree 100% on what you say. There is a huge difference between being a top elite coach and top elite manager. Mourinho was a top manager. Conte is a little bit of both because he can improve players, just like we saw this season with Rodrigo Bentancur or Dejan Kulusevski. Poch was fantastic to provide to England national team. I think 18 players, 8 from Southampton, 10 from Spurs. So, of course, I would love to see one day Mauricio Pochettino back at Tottenham. And if Antonio wants to leave, I will pick definitely Mauricio for the love story between him and Spurs. But we'll see. We'll see what's gonna happen in the future. Will be a very, very difficult part of the season. This finale, guys.
So, Moni, let's stay with you. I just want your thoughts on Tottenham's season so far in the Champions League, because, of course, we finished as Group D winners, played 6, won 3, drawn 2, lost 1, went through as winners with 11 points. And AC Milan, of course, finished second in their group, in Group E. They played 6, won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. They went through with 10 points. What have you made of Spurs this season in the Champions League?
Fantastic, because we are talking about a very, very strange group, very leveled, very, very stable group. Because of course, maybe Tottenham were the best team, and at the end of the day, they sure to be the best team. But when you look at Olympique de Marseille, Sporting Lisbon, Eintracht Frankfurt, we are talking about all very, very good teams. AC Milan had Chelsea, yeah, but they were drawn in a easier group for me, because Salzburg and last one, we are talking about teams that are not at the level of Sporting Lisbon, Eintracht Frankfurt, and Olympique de Marseille. So nothing but big applause for what Antonio did in Champions League.
Melvin, what have you made of Tottenham in the Champions League this season? Because, of course, it's the only goals Richarlison has scored for Spurs. You've not scored a Premier League goal yet for us.
We've not been the best this season. We've not been consistent. But we've been getting results over the line when it really matters, in key points of the season. It's been just a really strange season, with the World Cup, with the games so tight, close together. We know Conte likes to work with the squad. He likes to have 6-5 days between matches. And you can see the difference when the team is rested and when the team only has 2-3 days to recover. You could see a massive difference. The level of energy the players have, the intensity that we play at, it makes a massive difference. And the Champions League, I sort of disagree a little bit with Simone. I think we had quite an easy group in a way, because we didn't have PSG or Bayern Munich or any of the really, really, really big boys. We had lower level clubs. I think on paper we must have had one of the easiest groups, while I think AC Milan, even though they were crowned champions of last season, I don't think they were favourites at their group. Obviously, the Premier League clubs are always favourites, and Chelsea is quite a hard opposition to have. Even we struggle to play Chelsea, and they beat AC Milan home and away quite comfortably. So this season in the Champions League, all players seem to up their game, as well as Antonio Conte. I think what's interesting this season is from last time we went through to the round of 16, there's no away goals anymore in the competition. So playing at the San Siro, obviously, there's going to have to be, tactics that we don't have to score. We just should really watch out to not concede 1 or 2. Obviously, in the last time we played, in the Champions League, we got to the final, and the away goals were pivotal in our last run, because we got through against City and Ajax courtesy of the away goal, something that we won't have this season. And Conte knows that playing at home will have Højbjerg back, and maybe I don't know. Conte has quite a good record against AC Milan as well. But saying that, at Juventus he did have Pirlo and Pogba, and at AC Milan he had Barella, Brozovic, and Eriksen, while we have Oliver Skip and Papa Matassar in the middle. So it's gonna be an interesting game, and I think Champions League football is quite different from the Premier League. I think once you hear that anthem playing, I think players right away step up their game by about 10%. The intensity is there. Once you hear that Champions League music, the crowd is up for it. I think San Siro will have an incredible atmosphere. I think Italian football and Italian support in general
Yeah.
You know, they generate noise that the Premier League claims that they have, and I've only seen it once. You know, when Tottenham played Arsenal last season and we beat them 3-0, I've only seen that kind of atmosphere. You know, we can generate it sometimes when we want, when Spurs fans want, and when it's a really heated game. But the Italian fans are you have to applaud them, and you have to take in the moment, and the players will, some of the young players as well will probably never seen, players like Skip will probably never seen anything like that. You know, remember when Harry Winks played against AC Milan, against Real Madrid, and he had a really good game, and then he played at the Bernabeu. You know, these players will play these really big games for the first time. If you think Perisic will be quite an asset to us, he played many times in the San Siro, and he's played many times against AC Milan. He actually scored against them in the derby a couple of seasons ago from a corner kick. So there's lots of things to think about, and players can really step up and produce for us in this game.
You're absolutely right, Melvin. The San Siro will be an incredible atmosphere. But it's been a good atmosphere, actually. I've gone to all the away games, obviously, away in the Champions League this season, and every single one of them has been a fantastic atmosphere. And you rightly said there about the Spurs-Arsenal game. We need the atmosphere all the time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, no matter who we're playing, whether it's League Cup, FA Cup, Champions League. That needs to be the atmosphere like that all the time. Craig, let's come to you. What have you made of Spurs in the Champions League this season?
I've just really going by what the other two guys have said. Really, I mean, we've when the group come out, I must admit, I thought that could have been a hell of a lot worse. You know, I thought that was a fairly not easy group, because there's no easy games in the Champions League, but it could have been a lot worse. But we did make it harder than it should have been. Obviously, we was unlucky to get that last-minute goal disallowed, which would have made it a lot easier towards the end. But ultimately, it came down to the last game. Wouldn't say we limped across the line, because we finished in such a flourish. I mean, what a great last couple of minutes that was. You know, when we obviously Højbjerg scored and went on to win the group. But we made hard work of it, I'd say. We made hard work of it, but we got over the line. And that was the main thing. I remember saying, if we can stay in the competition till after Christmas, then you know, anything can happen. And I think we got a favourable draw with AC Milan. I think there are harder teams out there we could have drawn. Having said that, AC Milan are still a good side, and you can't underestimate them, you know. But if there's anybody that knows Italian football, it's Conte, and he will know AC Milan. And for this game, I think we've got the best person we could possibly have to tactically outthink them, hopefully. Whether he's got the tools at his disposal to do that now with all the injuries, you think they would have been planning for this game for a good few weeks. That's probably thrown those plans into disarray a bit. But he's going to have to work with the players and put out the team that he thinks is the best to get us a result on the night. For me, I don't know the answer to this, but has Conte ever played with a back four, or has he always played with a back three? Perhaps that's an option, to go with a back four in the San Siro. Because perhaps has he got the personnel that he wants to use to employ a back three now? Not that we obviously got the defenders we want to use, but obviously the midfield looks quite light. So is that an option he could change? And wonder what people think about that, because that could be that could make us hopefully a bit more solid, because in the centre of the park there, as I say, we've got a fair bit of inexperience now, and that's the only position that would worry me.
Simone, let's come to you on that. Craig alluded to it about formations there. Lee writes on screen now, what system would you play? 4-4-2, 3-5-2, or even 4-5-1, or even try and hit them on the counter? Can't see 3-4-3 working. How do you think Antonio Conte will set up at the San Siro on Tuesday?
3-4-3, guys, 3-4-3, because it could be an incredible risk. And I've known him for a very long time, so he will never change the system. The biggest problem for him, for Antonio, guys, about Antonio, is that he never changes system. This is a big difference. So I'm expecting 3-4-3 with maybe Eric Dyer in the middle. So I will go for Romero, Lenglet, and Davis, with Eric Dyer as an holding midfielder, just like he used to play under Poch. Because I completely agree with what Melvin was saying. It will be an hot one, so incredible atmosphere, and to start both Sar and Skip that are so young in a stadium like that could be a very an incredible risk. So we'll see. I will not be surprised if I see from the start Eric Dyer playing as an holding midfielder.
Simone, talk to me about the atmosphere. What it's going to be like in the San Siro.
Yeah, incredible atmosphere, guys. But we are talking about Giants. In this moment, they've been struggling for 1 month since the start of New Year, since the start of 2023. They have been struggling. Yes, they won against Torino on Friday night, but we are talking about a team that is struggling a lot. But in Champions League, we are talking about one of the best clubs in the world, guys. 7 Champions League. AC Milan and our history are the history of the great game. So we are talking about a very hostile place to go.
Bernie, I know you watch AC Milan a lot, and as you just said, on Friday evening, AC Milan beat Torino 1-0 at the San Siro Stadium. Olivier Giroud scoring, ending a 7-game winless run. Napoli, of course, are out in front at the top of Serie A. It looks like Tanguy Ndombele will go on to win a trophy and a medal. What can you tell us about AC Milan's form? What can you tell us about their season? Who are their star men?
My feeling is that we are talking about a very young squad, just like Tottenham. Last season, they overproduced. Stefano Pioli made a miracle because in terms of the squad, in terms of the team, maybe just like last season, Inter de Milan were much better than Milan. Apart from Zlatan Ibrahimovic, that is a legend, Simon Kjær and Olivier Giroud, we are talking about a very young squad. And when you miss points, when you miss some key players, just like Magnan for injury, when you drop some points, maybe your confidence can collapse. When you have got a very young squad, this concept of the confidence is very important. So I don't want to see the confidence of Sarri Skip bullied in the go down in the middle of San Siro. So I will be very scared to start both them because I know what can happen.
Melvin, of course, you watch a lot of AC Milan. If you're not watching Spurs, you're watching AC Milan because your girlfriend supports AC Milan. So you're always watching them. Tell us what you've made of their season and who are the players that we should really look out for.
They've had their fans aren't so happy right now with the way they're playing. They're champions of Serie A. They won the season. They won the league last season, and they've been struggling. And I think even the most optimistic of AC Milan fans cannot really point at what's going wrong with AC Milan. Is it the coach? Is it the tactics? I think they had key injuries, and luckily for them, some of them are coming back. Tomori will play. Tomori will arguably should have been chosen for England ahead of Eric Dyer. So that's extra motivation for him. I don't know if he's going to start, but Tomori is a great player. They have Tonali and Benacer in the middle, who are both probably will start. Benacer is coming back from injury as well, luckily for them. They're a good team. They're quite similar to us in a sense that they struggle if they have 2 or 3 key players out. They've been playing with Olivier Giroud up top, who I think will be interesting because at the World Cup, Romero did quite a good job defending against him, and in fact he had to be substituted off, I believe, at halftime or close to halftime, something like that. So it could have an effect on this game, seeing Romero playing against him at the San Siro. And Pioli, their manager, who's been excellent last season. He's very good tactically. He does really good substitutions. And this season, their fans haven't been very happy with him. He's changed the formation for the derby, which they haven't played all season. He played with 5 at the back, which was something that's strange because Conte tries to have at least a bit of consistency and a tactic that they've never played. All of a sudden, he tried it in the derby. It's like Conte changing the system right before the North London derby. Imagine that. It was very strange game, and they only lost, against Inter by a narrow margin. So, even though they've been struggling and they've only kept one clean sheet this season, they were not going to turn them over. Even I think with our best 11, we would struggle against AC Milan. I think, even though we could have beat them, I think if we had our best 11, I think they're a very, very good team. They have, key players like Rafa Leao, who has been linked with the Premier League. They're saying he's going to be 100 million, winger. They have Theo Hernandez, who's an excellent left back, and and obviously both players on Emerson Royal's side. So he's going to have to pull a really, really good performance trying to defend both of them. So another key thing is their goalkeeper, Mike Maignan, is injured, who's excellent. He's very good goalkeeper, and a very big reason why they won the league last season. They only conceded, I don't think, more than 25, 30 goals, which was very, very low. They kept many, many clean sheets, and he turned many draws into victories for them, which is something they don't have. They have Tatarosanu, their keeper, who's not as strong as Mike. I think he's quite weak in corner kicks, which I think will be an asset to us. So I think we will always have a chance with players like Kane, Son, Kulusevski, and Perisic. We have two players who played many times in the San Siro. Actually, three if you count Romero as well. These Conte knows the league, knows the team. It's going to be an interesting game, and there's lots of things to look out for.
Simone, can I just come back to you? Obviously, you've got lots of AC Milan fans around you. You live in Milan. How are they feeling about this game? Are they feeling pretty confident?
Yeah. Because Tottenham lost, or even that is suspended Bentancur for 8 months. They need to find some turning point on the season. That never can be a win 1-0 against Torino. They need to feel once again what's the meaning of AC Milan being at top level and beating an important opponent like Tottenham could be the fire, the turning point of their season. Saying that, I totally agree with what Melvin was saying about AC Milan. They are playing with the back three for their first time in their history, because for a century they played with the back four. So it will be a very, very interesting game. I'm expecting Milan to play the ball, to try to dominate the game, and I'm expecting Antonio to play the Italian way, the Italian side. So try to defend and go for the counter-attacks. So this is my truth. The issue with Antonio is that his record in Europe is not as high as his reputation, because we are talking about a manager that never played a single Champions League semi-final. He played once a Champions League quarter-final, twice a Champions League last 16, and for example, in both occasions, both seasons with Inter de Milan, he failed to go through to the group phase. So we are talking about a manager that in Europe always struggle. So we'll see what happens.
Simone, there's always a first.
Yeah. Yeah, could be.
I'm trying to have a little bit of positivity on this show tonight.
Yeah.
Craig, let's come to you. Melvin rightly said earlier about AC Milan played Chelsea and were well beaten both games. What did you make of those games? Do you think it will be comfortable for Spurs? Do you think AC Milan will be going into this game with full confidence, knowing that Højbjerg and Bentancur are not in the team?
Firstly, Melvin gave a great rundown there of the AC Milan team, far better than I could have done. So brilliant, Melvin. I think I didn't watch both those games fully, but the parts I saw, I just thought AC Milan certainly didn't look like the team I remember them being. Certainly in the 90s when they were an absolutely outstanding team. Let's see if they're Craig, please sign up for Spurs and replace Dyer. Chiellini, lovely. I'll take that as I always do. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. I think they're going to be a stern test. They are going to be a stern test. Whenever you play against an Italian side, you know what you're going to be playing against. And to be honest, I think Conte would be happy taking a draw away from the San Siro, as would I, to be honest with you. It's probably a score draw. That's what my prediction would be. I know you'll probably ask us at the end, but I think a 1-1, I'd be more than happy with that. Absolutely more than happy with that. The worry is, in answer to your question about the midfield, they would have seen what's happened at Spurs over the last week. And obviously, as you say, Højbjerg being suspended, a big loss. So I don't know how AC Milan play. Melvin or Simone might be able to answer this better. Do they use the wings more than coming through the middle? Or is it something, do you think they would change the tactic for if they do use the wings? Would they look to come through the middle of us, seeing that the midfield might be not as strong as it could be?
Well, they switched their system to let Theo Hernandez attack him on the space, because when Theo, that is one of the best left back in Europe, needs to defend, he can struggle. So I think it will be key the game Dejan Kulusevski will play, because if Theo wanna attack, it's gonna be hard time for both Emerson Royal and Romero. Not considering that in that side in front of Theo, just like Melvin was saying, there will be another man called Rafael Leao. So they are one of the best player in terms of playing football on the left in Europe, in my opinion.
I know this sounds crazy, sorry, but does anyone think he might put up Richarlison up front and then play Kane in the middle? Because obviously he can play.
This is exactly what I'm coming to. This is exactly what I'm coming to. Let's talk about the predicted lineup. This is my predicted lineup, and I know we're going to discuss this, and I know rightly, Melvin, you're saying about Heung-min Son perhaps being dropped or rotated, Richarlison coming in. Now, this is the starting 11 that I feel that Antonio Conte will go with, and then feel free to have your say whether you agree or disagree. Forster in goal, obviously. The back three of Romero, Dyer, and Lenglet. The wing backs Perisic and Emerson. In midfield, Sarr and Skip, and in the front three of Kulusevski, Kane, and Son. Simone, let's start with you. Do you agree with that lineup, or would you want to change it? Because personally, I think that Richarlison does need game time. I think he's very hungry. If it was my choice, I think I would put Richarlison in, Heung-min Son rotated on the bench.
Yeah,
but the plan will be... Antonio Conte will go with Son.
I think that he will stick with Son. Son will start because it's an important game. I will play Richarlison, of course. I will play Richarlison, not for Kulusevski, but for Son, definitely. I completely agree with that possible lineup. I repeat, I will play Eric Dyer in the middle because I don't trust San Siro way both Skippy and Sarr, because they don't have enough experience to play both the only two midfielders away San Siro, like 16 UEFA Champions League with that incredible atmosphere. So I'm expecting Henry to drop a lot, Kane to drop, and one between Sonny and Richarlison to attack the space. But I'm expecting Chris, Sonny to start again, because I remember it's a very, very important game. And if I know a little bit of Antonio, I know that he's not going to change the best players.
Simone, I don't know whether you remember, but when we signed Eric Dyer from Sporting, he came in as a right back, then he played centre back, and then we needed a holding midfielder. Pochettino said to Daniel Levy, don't worry about buying one. I will turn Eric Dyer into a holding midfielder. Is there any chance that Eric Dyer could play in midfield and perhaps Sanchez will go at centre back?
Yeah. It's what I was saying. I will not be surprised at all, Chris. I think that it's a possibility. the alternative is to start both of the two young players, so both Skippy and Sarr. So I will go for Eric Dyer and one of maybe Sarr that knows how to play the ball better than Skippy. Maybe.
What What I'm getting at though, will Antonio Conte take that risk that he's not played him there before under his management at Spurs?
But of course, for me, it's a bigger risk to start both Sar and Skippy San Siro away. So I would play Eric Dyer in the middle, definitely. So I will not be surprised at all. Of course, he started as a right back under Mauricio, then he transformed him into a very good holding midfielder, and then when he needed to develop his game as a centre back, he struggled a lot under Jose Mourinho. Last season he did well under Antonio, but this season he failed to repeat the standards of last season.
Lastly, Simone, with Emerson Royale, would you expect him to come into this starting 11? I'm predicting it, but is it right to put Emerson back into the team, or should he give Pedro Porro another go? Because, of course, Pedro Porro is very used to playing in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, but I think Antonio already made his choice. Emerson Royal will start. If not, Pedro Porro would have been benched in Leicester, and Emerson Royal will be started against Foxes. So I think Emerson Royal will start. Pedro Porro could come in during the game.
Melvin, what are you thinking? Starting 11.
I think he trusts Oliver Skipp and Papa Matasar, and I think he'll play them in the middle. I can't see him taking Eric Dyer out of being a centre back, all last 2 years and played most of the games under Antonio Conte. I can't see it. I can't see him taking him out of that position and risking the defense, because you're going to be risking the defense to plug a hole that you're not sure he's capable of plugging. You know what I mean? I cannot see him doing that. I think he might take a bigger risk. I'm not sure what he said.
Gareth saying, did we have a game tonight? We must have lost if Melbourne is on.
Gareth, I haven't been on after a defeat in a very long time. But anyways,
you can tell everyone though, Melvin, you are going to the San Siro on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to be making the trip. We'll see. I've quite a good record of watching Spurs and winning when I'm there. Going back to what I was saying, I cannot see him taking risks with the back line, and I cannot see him taking risks with the midfield either. I think he'll be more, maybe if he's going to take any risk, I think he might try something with Richarlison or Danjuma, who's both been very good in the Champions League. Danjuma played excellent last season, had 4 or 5 goals, had key man of the match performances, and I think can do something for us. I think Son needs to be dropped or rested, a bit of both. I think he was poor against Leicester. I think the pressure of winning the Golden Boot last year and this season, I think we started the season trying to win it again without doing, the key fundamentals. I think he's not passing when he should pass. I think he's dribbling too much. I think he needs to go back to basics and play football, play it simple, pass the cane, pass to the people around him. I think he's overthinking it. I think he's not letting it flow. He's thinking too much. And by the time, he gets the ball under his feet, the chance is gone. I think he needs a rest. I think Richarlison needs to play against AC Milan. I don't know if Conte will do that to him, because I think Son in his mind probably thinks, listen, this is a great game. I need to prove myself, and if I score, I can get my season back on track. I think he has that mentality. And something I want to say about Harry Kane, listen, he's the Tottenham Hotspur all-time goal scorer. But if he wants to be known as absolutely world-class, he needs to score. He needs to score at the San Siro like Gareth Bale did all those years ago.
Yeah.
It's good if he scores in the Premier League against Leicester and West Ham and all those teams, but he needs to score against AC Milan in the San Siro and get us through. this is what world-class players do, and he needs to put a really good performance against AC Milan, or even get an assist, because he's capable of doing that. I want to see which players step up in this game, because it's when these moments are happening in the team, when you have injuries, when you're not playing well. When they call Højbjerg the Viking, it's these moments when the players really step up and do something. Now it's the time, like Son did against Manchester City in the first leg. He scored at home, and he went to Pep and he did this. He said, "Do you know who I am?" And he said, "I'm Son." And that was one of those performances. We need that again from one of them. If let's say Linglet scores from a header, or Eric Dyer scores from a header, or Romero does an extremely good game and we keep a clean sheet, or Emerson, somehow gets a goal or gets an assist. We need these players to really step up. It's a Champions League match in the San Siro, and we could remember them like we remember Lucas Moura for his performance at Ajax. It's one of those moments where, like, if you do something extreme like that, the fans will remember you forever. They will say, "Listen, remember what that player did when we had, when we had Skip and Sarr in the middle, but we scored 2 when we won." It's that opportunity for the team, and it's interesting to see which player is going to step up and do something special at the San Siro.
It's going to be nice hearing that Champions League music in Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be good. I think these games are so special, and we wait for them for so long. My Valentine's Day is going to be at the San Siro with my girlfriend. Hopefully, we don't end. We end the game in good terms and both somehow happy. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna end unless it's a draw and both teams score. I think neither of us. If we lose, I think I'm preparing myself for a bad result, but in my heart, I still think we can do it.
Melvin, I can tell you now, I reckon there's a lot of partners out there who have no idea that this game is on Valentine's Day, and their night is going to be watching Tottenham Hotspur either in the stadium, at the pub, or at home. That's going to be interesting. Craig, let's come to you. Comment on screen now. I get Heung-min Son being dropped, but what has Richarlison done to deserve being in the starting 11 at San Siro? Would you drop Heung-min Son?
I probably wouldn't, and to be honest, I completely agree with the team that you read out. I think that's what he's going to go with. Richarlison obviously had his injuries, hasn't really managed to get his career going at Tottenham for any length of time. He hasn't really had the opportunity to stay in the team. What with injuries, World Cup, and then injuries and stop-start, he hasn't really had the opportunity to have a run of games, has he? So, it's partly not his fault. I just think he would be a good impact player to come on for whether that be Son or Kulusevski. Personally, I wouldn't start Richarlison. I just think he's too big a game. I think Son might be one of those players that he needs the confidence, that the manager shows that he's got the confidence in him to still do it. I do wonder if you drop Son. I know how he come back and scored that hat-trick, of course, but I just think I thought against City, Son played pretty well. He wasn't the best I've ever seen him, but I thought he played pretty well.
The thing is, if you're not going to play someone like Richarlison, who we've spent a lot of money on, when Heung-min Son is in poor form, when on earth is he going to get the start?
Yeah, it is a good point. I'm just saying I don't think Conte will drop Son. Whether I would do it as a manager, I genuinely don't know. Because we all know the trouble is when you've got a brilliant player like Heung-min Son and you know what he can do, you know how he can win games, how long do you give him before you say, no, do you know what, he's just having a bad season, he's just not got it at the moment, I've got to take him out of the team? And would you risk doing that in such an important game? I don't know the answer to that. But all I'll say is there's a bit of positivity, shall we say, tonight. 2019, we weren't in a brilliant position with injuries going into. Now, forgive me, I can't remember who we played in the round of 16 in 2019. I'm sure somebody will tell me in a minute. But we weren't in the best place. Harry Kane had just done his hamstring badly. He was out. I don't know what day it was. I know Delhi was injured. He had a hamstring. I know we had a few more injuries. And bearing in mind, we had Harry Winks and Moussa Sissoko in the middle of the pitch. Now, Harry Winks and Moussa Sissoko, are they any better than Sarr and Skip, would you say? Perhaps Sissoko, that was the season he was being fantastic. So all I'm saying is we've done it before. We have done it before. We can do it again. There's absolutely no reason, but the players have got to perform because this is a big game against a good AC Milan side, no matter what anybody will tell you. And, you know, they're going to want to beat us 2-3-0 and come to our place and just sit back and let us attack. So if we can get a goal, but not concede more than that, you know, we've got to keep it as a draw is what I'm saying. We can't come back to our place and just, you know, have to go for the win because I think we've played against Italian defences many times. They're so tough to break down. So we've got to at least draw this game.
Borussia Dortmund is the answer, Craig.
That's it.
Emerson Royale or Pedro Porro on Tuesday?
Me, I personally think Emerson. You've got to stick Emerson in. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think you have. I genuinely think you have. Yeah, I think you've got to play Emerson. To be honest, this may shock a few people. If I was manager, I would play Emerson on Tuesday because I think Porro's confidence is going to be on the floor. I think it was a bit of a shock to him. I totally get it, what you're saying about Champions League, but I think the whole plan, regardless of how he played, was for Emerson to play Tuesday. And probably he would have liked to have given Emerson a complete rest till Tuesday. So I think Emerson will come in. I think he should come in and then just blood Porro gently, get his confidence up because he had a shocker, but you know, it's ridiculously too early to even write the man off. He's come to a new league, doesn't speak English particularly well, had hardly any time to get to know his teammates or what runs they're going to make. So give the guy a bit of time. But
Great.
Emerson
So
for me.
Do you agree with my predicted 11 then? Do you think that Lenglet will come in for Davis?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think he will. Okay. And I totally see the argument about moving Eric Dyer forward, but then who would you put centre-back if you're playing the back three? You know, Romero presumably keep on the right, and that means Sanchez going in the middle. He's had some shockers when he's been playing in the middle. So, you know, can he play on the left? He probably could, but Lenglet in the middle. I just think it would be too much of a risk. I think he's going to go with the back three that you said.
Right, lastly, let's do score predictions. Simone, let's start with you.
1-1.
1-1.
I'm gonna point out just one thing, is that if you are expecting a proper Italian team, I don't think AC Milan are a proper Italian team because they love to attack, they love playing the ball, they love dominate the game. They are not strong. They are one of the worst sides in terms of set pieces in Italy. And we are talking about Spurs that are one of the best in terms of set pieces. So Giovanni Bio needs to work hard in this couple of days. I will start Eric Dyer in the middle, also for this aspect. I will play with 4 center backs this game, guys, because Antonio is strong in to prepare this kind of games, and Tottenham can damage AC Milan on set pieces.
Simone, I've got 2 important questions for you. What's the weather like in Milan at the moment? Because I'll be coming over soon. And what's the best beer you can recommend?
What's the best beer? I love the Becks. I love Becks and Heineken, guys, but they are not typical Italians. So I'm particular. I'm not the right.
What about the weather?
Sorry?
The weather.
The weather is extremely cold, not just like London, I guess, but I think that it's 1 or 2 outside.
Melvin, you better pack your gloves and your scarf. What's your score prediction?
I'm gonna say, I was gonna say 1-1 like Simone, but I'll change it. I'll say 2-2.
You're going for a draw as well?
Yeah, and I think set pieces, like Simone said, I think their goalkeeper is so terrible at set pieces. He doesn't come off the line, and they've conceded quite a bit. So playing, Dyer and Linglet for set pieces, and even Romero, you have to play them because they're strong. Even Richarlison, if you play Richarlison, you have a set piece, he can get you a goal. This is why, Johnny Vio can get us the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll say 2-2. I'll say 2-2.
Craig, what are you going for?
I was going to go 1-1, but I'll just to be different. I'll have to go 3-3 so I'm not copying anyone. But no, I'd probably 1-1. As I said before, I'd absolutely take a 1-1 draw. Big game for Forster on Tuesday. He's obviously played. It's going to be a big game for him Tuesday. So let's hope he holds his nerve. I'm sure he will.
We haven't even.
Forster is far better than Tataruzano as a second keeper. Forster is better than Tataruzano. Tataruzano is the worst second keeper of the big teams in Serie A. The worst.
Can I say something? My girlfriend showed me a video of the AC Milan goalkeeper during warming up, and it was the guy who's doing the warm up, and he was shooting from outside the box, and he was scoring on the keeper. Yeah. This is the guy who was in charge of doing the warm up, and he was scoring, and the guy was going like this before the game. He's like, "How am I scoring against you?" Right before the game, shooting from outside the box. And this guy is like, he's an old guy, and he's scoring against the AC Milan goalkeeper. It's like, how? And he's shaking his head and going, how are we supposed to win with this guy? Yeah, so it's interesting. If Kane can score on this guy, definitely.
Well, you three have gone for a draw, so I'm going to have to go for a Spurs win, aren't I? I'm going to go for a 2-1 Tottenham win. But I think if we just avoid defeat, take them back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I think we'll have a real chance. Simone, hopefully I will see you out in Milan on Tuesday. Thanks so much for coming on. Please tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Thank you, Chris. Simone Dell'Uomo 21 on Instagram. I've got just Instagram and Facebook, clearly. On Facebook, I've got my name, Simone Dell'Uomo. On Instagram, Simone Dell'Uomo plus 21. The number, if you remember, of Nico Grancher, one of my favorite players for Spurs many times ago.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And Melvin, hopefully I'll see you in Milan as well. Thanks so much for coming on, and tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter. You can see my handle. I adjusted it to be Melvin Malta now because everybody keeps calling me that. So I just embraced it, and it's Melvin Malta. Follow me on Twitter. I'm quite active and quite opinionated on Twitter, and just talking Tottenham 99% of the time, and come on you Spurs, and hopefully it'll be another European night to remember, and hopefully we can get 3 points or the win, I guess.
Yeah. And Craig, thanks so much. You will be hosting the show on Tuesday. I will be in the away end at the San Siro. Hopefully I can get out as soon as possible, but if I'm running late, then Craig will be hosting the show, so be kind to him. Craig, thanks so much for coming back.
Absolutely, no worries, Chris. Always a pleasure. And if people really want to follow me, there's the handle there. So as Chris said, if he can't get away and he's being manhandled by the Italian police, then I'll be hosting the show on Tuesday. But I'll be on there, whatever. So see you Tuesday, and let's hope for a Spurs win. Yes. Simone, Craig, Melvin, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who watched this stream and listened to it on an audio platform. I will see you in Milan on Tuesday, and have a happy Valentine's Day. Come on, you Spurs.